In such a volatile environment, many in our neighborhood are looking for a, if I may say so, safe haven for stability, predictability and protection. On August 29, the people of Iceland will vote on whether they will restart membership negotiations with the EU. At a time when many are quick to question or dismiss our union, this says something important. It shows that the European model remains attractive. It shows that in an unstable world, the European Union still stands for stability, certainty, and shared rules and values. I want to make it clear that if Icelanders decide to move towards full integration, the EU will be ready. Russia's aggression against Ukraine has reminded us that peace, stability and democracy in Europe cannot be taken for granted. We are seeing how autocratic regimes, often together with willing domestic helpers, are attacking democracies across Europe. In this context, enlargement is no longer only about completing the European project. It is about securing it, and this changes the way we must approach it. Our credibility as a geopolitical actor will depend also on our ability to advance the accession process in a way that is both ambitious and fully consistent with our rules. It will depend on whether we can find a way to give our candidates a credible offer and firmly anchor them in the European political space, reducing the risk that competing powers will shape the future of our continent, and at the same time never compromise on the high standards on reforms EU enlargement entails. This is why the ongoing debate on how to adapt our enlargement policy is both necessary and timely. The European Parliament, you have contributed meaningfully to these reflections through its recent resolution. I welcome this engagement and look forward to hearing you today. Now let me turn to where we stand. 25 was a good year for enlargement. We have accomplished more than in the last 15 years together, and we are continuing this good work in 2026. Montenegro continues to advance its negotiations. It had closed 14 chapters, more than a third, but I would like to stress it is not only about the numbers. I was in Podgorica last month and passed a clear message: focus on the quality of the reforms and prioritize the fundamentals. Here, I would like to thank you for your engagement. In Podgorica, I exchanged extensively with both the government and the opposition on the two recent laws on internal affairs and security, which the S&D group also brought to my attention. I made clear these two laws need not only to align with the EU acquis, but genuine support across Montenegrin society, and we will closely watch how they are implemented. Albania has opened all 6 negotiating clusters in just a year. Member States are now progressing with discussion on the fulfillment of the interim benchmarks on the rule of law. I'm confident to see decisive progress in the Council in the next few weeks and months. Ukraine continues its accession path under extraordinary circumstances. The determination shown by Ukrainians while defending its sovereignty and its citizens is truly remarkable. We are losing no time on Ukraine's EU path. We are now optimistic that with the support of the new government of Hungary, the Council will soon be in the position to formally open all negotiating clusters. Just 2 weeks ago, the Verkhovna Rada passed important laws. This will unlock a further 2.7 billion euro of budgetary support under the Ukraine facility, and this is a crucial juncture to stabilize Ukraine's liquidity needs. The Rada session at the end of this month offers another opportunity to build on this positive trend. And we also expect that as soon as the oil will flow in Druzhba pipeline again, and this could happen already this week, we will be able to provide Ukraine with the long-awaited 90 billion euro loan. On Moldova, despite intense pressure by Russia and the spillovers of the aggression against Ukraine, is delivering quality reforms at a strong pace. Last month, member states have given us the mandate to start technical negotiations across all 33 negotiating chapters, and it was a recognition for Moldovans' extraordinary efforts on the accession process and a great moment to speed up reforms. Just like in the case of Ukraine, we look forward to a decision by the Council to formally open all 6 negotiating clusters. We are also moving forward with Kosovo. We have proceeded with the lifting of measures and now expect the government to proceed with the reforms needed to benefit from EU support. I will travel to Pristina soon to take this work forward. But I have to say that the progress is not uniform. In Georgia, recent legislative developments raise serious concerns. An autocratic system of state control over political expression is pushing Georgia further away from the European future most of its people want. Our goal is to keep Georgia anchored to the EU and maintain our ability to defend the EU interests. We are increasingly worried about what is happening in Serbia. I share the concerns voiced by the MEPs from the Greens and the Renew Group, from laws that undermine the independence of the judiciary to crackdowns on protesters and recurrent meddling in independent media. We are currently assessing whether the country still fulfills the conditions for payments under the EU's financial instruments. We will continue for sure to support Serbia on its EU path, but we expect the authorities to fully align its judicial laws with the Venice Commission's recommendations and to restore the independence of its media, including through reform of the REM. And we want to see constant improvements in the CFSP alignment. The accession process is built on the commitments on both sides, and those commitments must be respected and followed by concrete action. I already spoke about the changing geopolitical environment and what this means for enlargement. Let me again make it clear that fundamental reforms will always remain central. But at the same time, we can no longer expect our candidates to spend years implementing difficult reforms without having much to show for it. We need to reach our future citizens much faster. We are already doing this. Integration into the single euro payments area is delivering tangible results. Faster transactions, lower costs for businesses and citizens. The same goes for roaming. Just last month, we made a proposal to the Council to include all countries from the Western Balkans in our free roaming area, after we welcomed Ukraine and Moldova on January the 1st this year. Those efforts make a real difference to millions of people that look towards Europe. I agree with those of you that want us to go further and move into areas that define countries' strategic positioning: energy, infrastructure, security, and of course, the internal market. Through the growth plans, we are linking reform progress directly to investment and economic opportunities. While Ukraine and Moldova are performing well or excellent, progress has been a lot slower in the Western Balkans. Last week, I wrote to the authorities in the region to step up their reforms or their citizens will lose out. The growth plan is strictly performance-based, as you know, and time-bound. Currently, more than 700 million euro are at risk of being permanently lost across the region if reforms are not completed by June 26 or December 26 for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Those who deliver reforms need to feel the difference in their core structures, and this helps pro-EU governments by bringing immediate benefits to their businesses and citizens. Very important part. As we move forward, we must also address the question of safeguards. Safeguard clauses in the accession treaties are not new. They have always been part of the enlargement. But today, the scale of enlargement, the political context, and the lessons of past accession require us to reflect on how these instruments should evolve. A lesson learned from 2004 is that we need to have safeguards that ensure new members stick to the rules and the integrity of our union is assured even 5, 10, or 20 years down the line. Future accession treaties will need to include safeguards that are credible, effective, and capable of being applied if serious shortcomings arise after accession. With Montenegro working towards closing all chapters, its accession treaty should be the first of a new generation. This is not about creating additional criteria for the country. But if countries go backwards on our fundamentals, such as democracy and the rule of law, the safeguards must bite, and we must always be able to protect our union. We need this to maintain trust. Trust among the member states, trust with our citizens, and trust in the enlargement process itself. Across Europe, we are witnessing increasing pressure on democratic institutions, media, and civil society. And when it comes to defending freedom and democracy, our current and future member states are fighting the same fight as we do. In many ways, some of our candidate countries know this struggle even better than we do, just like look to Ukraine or Moldova. This is why we are extending our cooperation through the European Democracy Shield. This is the strategy, how to protect our democracy. Together with Commissioner McGrath and Cypriot Presidency, we are planning, still before summer, a ministerial discussion of EU member states and candidates together about their involvement in the implementation of the Shield. We will work with our partners to strengthen institutions, support independent media, and empower civil society. We also need to take bolder steps to establish stronger partnerships, especially in our neighborhood. My recent engagements with our candidate country, Turkey, as well as with Armenia and Azerbaijan, need to be understood in this way. We need Turkey in light of the changing geopolitical realities and in Europe and in the Middle East. They are the 5th EU largest trading partner, with a trade volume twice as high as that with Mercosur or India. I'm speaking about Turkey. It is essential for trade routes between Europe and Asia, and any peace settlement for Ukraine will need Turkey, NATO's second army, as we will be faced with a new security environment in the Black Sea region. I recently traveled to Ankara and agreed to explore possibility to reduce trade barriers, but we expect Turkey to also take steps towards us as well, and especially towards Cyprus. We also intensified our support to the ongoing peace efforts between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Together we want to develop new transport, energy and digital routes across the South Caucasus. And with war raging north and south, emerging trade routes through Turkey and the South Caucasus have become essential. Since 2022, trade cargo on the route has been bigger for 4 times. With the right investments, it can triple by 2030. And this is what work on the connectivity is about. At the same time, connectivity is also a contribution to a peace. Now the last part, then I will finish. The Simplification 2025 annual report, as agreed, that I will report it during today's dialogue. We focused on 4 strengths: maximizing the impact of our external investment toolbox and reducing administrative burden for implementing partners, avoiding duplications between the various rule of law reporting exercises for candidate countries. This regards especially the rule of law report, which includes 4 candidate countries and the annual enlargement package. Shifting, very important, to performance-based instruments with the implementation of the facilities for Ukraine, Western Balkans and Moldova. And implementation dialogues. I had 2 with private businesses and civil society organizations, and I will have next year 2 more. Honorable members, as said at the beginning, enlargement is once again one of the European Union's most strategic politics and policies. In many ways, we are once again facing the fundamental question of how to organize our continent to preserve peace and stability. And this is why the European Union was founded in the first place. The challenges Europe faces today once again demand courage, unity, and a vision from all of us. And your efforts and engagement are central to building a more independent Europe and unify our continent. I would like to thank you for your contribution, and I look forward to go on with an excellent cooperation with the European Parliament and especially with your committee, AFET.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Now we come to a first round with the coordinators, and accidentally that's me again for the EPP. And now putting the other hat, but remain seated here. I would like to thank you for this overview and also giving direct hints to individual countries where we stand. My question is, when I look to the country where I am the standing rapporteur on Ukraine, we have quite a strict conditionality, especially through the Ukraine facility, where we have an annex with the homework for each quarter to be fulfilled. And if it is fulfilled, yes, then the payment is in full. And if it's only partly fulfilled, it is only partly done. Now, so far, so good. And we have seen delays. We have seen then they were catching up. And then you could then say, OK, now we can do the payment. What I would like to see is, in principle, that would be applied in the same way for all the candidate countries. And I have the impression amongst many of the other candidates, we have a situation rather that there are lump sum payments done, and the clear conditionality, also checking where we stand in the different clusters. There is not this direct link. Is that a wrong perception, that it is more leisurely done with the other countries? Or if it is right, this perception, would you tend, so to say, for the time to come, to apply this mechanism that we have for Ukraine, admitted under circumstances that are special? But I think, as it is always also about our taxpayers' money and our expectation that these countries deliver, should this mechanism not be accordingly applied also for the other candidates? That is my question and my comment. And now I come to the S&D group, and on behalf of Nacho Sanchez Amor, it's Andreas Schieder who takes the floor. Andreas.
Danke, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Marta Kosa. First, thank you for this report, and this makes me also, from what I think enlargement should be, very happy that you are responsible for the enlargement portfolio. I have three quick questions. The one is a general one. We're asking all the applicant countries to reform dramatically. The question is, how and when do we start also the reform process which needs to be taken inside the European Union to be ready for enlargement? The second is about Albania and the so-called EBA approval by the Council, when we can expect this and how the status is. My third, and then finally I end up to have four questions. My third one is on Montenegro. As you mentioned, also the two laws which are heavily criticized. What means monitoring, and what else we can do if monitoring shows that situation is not getting better? And the last one is on Serbia. As also in political way was announced to lose up 1.5 billion EU funding because of democratic backsliding. The question is how this will be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the Patriots of Europe, instead of Antonio Tanga Correa, it's Mr. Ferenc. No, not? Oh, Mrs. Sorry.
Dear
I only saw Ferenc. Sorry for that.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Dear Madam Commissioner, thank you very much for your presentation on the Commission's work program, and I would like to ask questions concerning the human rights situation in Ukraine. As you have mentioned also, unfortunately, Ukraine has been at war for over 4 years, bringing many tragedies. And in this rights violation affecting many citizens in Ukraine, and deserves the European Commission's attention in its future work. As a representative of the Hungarians in Transcarpathia 6 months ago, I addressed a question requiring a written answer to you, in which we called on the European Commission to pay increased attention to human rights violation in Ukraine, in particular to unlawful measures carried out by recruitment offices in the context of wartime mobilization. And as you may be aware, in recent years, numerous men in Ukraine, including ethnic Hungarians from Transcarpathia, legally entitled to exemption, have reportedly been subjected to violations of their rights. Tragically, this also has occurred in the beginning of 2026. And regrettably, we are now actually witnessing another violation, because the 15th of April, another Hungarian from Transcarpathia has been held at the local district recruitment center, despite being entitled to exemption. And in violation of his rights, his phone has been confiscated and he has not been allowed to leave the building on this day. So my questions, Madam Commissioner, in light of the seriousness of the situation and the growth of complaints, what immediate actions will you take to address these issues? When can concrete measures be expected? Human lives are at stake, and we therefore urge you to take swift and decisive actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next one is Richard Kohls from ECR.
Thank you, Chair. And colleagues before me raised valid questions on the topic we discussed today. But I would start with that integrity of the whole College of the Commission, especially when it comes to a portfolio that is dedicated towards enlargement policy, is of utmost importance for this committee and for this House. And Commissioner Kos, your portfolio covers countries that had to face the truth about collaboration with the secret police of repressive regimes, Ukraine, Moldova, and Western Balkans. And my own country, Latvia, knows exactly what it means. It is painful, it was public, and it was necessary. Lustration is not a revenge. It is a basic condition of trust when holding public office, which brings me now to you. At your confirmation hearing, you stated, on the record, quote, "I was never collaborator or informant of Secret Service of Yugoslavia," end quote. Last month, 10 documents of the official Slovenian State Archives confirmed you were registered.
Excuse me, that is foreseen for the any other business point.
No, Mr. Chairman, don't apply repressive measures at this point. This is very important. So confirmed you were registered as a source at the Yugoslav Directorate for State Security, codenamed TARA, in 1987. Upgraded to operational collaborator Blanca in 1989, and filling reports from Cologne as late as April 1990. The countries you are judging on the rule of law and democratic standards had to go through exactly this reckoning. So you have not. And if you have lied to this Parliament about your own past, the most basic thing we can ask, Commissioner, do you believe you are fit to hold the office? Thank you.
Thank you for this. And the Greens is Thomas Weitz. No, sorry. Hilde Woutmans, excuse me. Verschoning vragen. Natuurlijk, Hilde.
No problem. Thank you very much, President. And I will answer the question of my colleague. Yes, I think your Commissioner is very fit for the job, because honestly, I think she's doing the best job of the whole college, because she's a very strong woman. She holds a portfolio and she makes a lot of progress. And maybe it's that what you don't like as a party, that progress has been made on this very important file. For me, Commissioner, you have my full support. I think you're doing a great job on a very difficult topic for us Europeans, because we all know that enlargement is important in this geopolitical situation, but we also know that for our European citizens, it's not so easy, because a lot are afraid that enlargement will keep away their well-being. And so for me, I always say, you have the hardest portfolio, because we need the geopolitical side, but we also need to reform before we take the next step to take countries within. And that you know, because we discussed it many, many times. For me, very crucial now is where do we stand with the reform of Europe, the renewment of Europe? You know the name of my party, Renew Europe. We want to renew Europe, like you know. So for me, where do you stand with unanimity, with maybe a smaller college? Where is the Commission stand on that? And then secondly, because that's what you also mentioned, for the countries who want to join, the process is very, 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 very long. Sometimes too long. It takes more than one generation. And so I think we should also reflect to speed up procedures. But I take the example of Ukraine. I think they're fighting for our freedom. They're fighting for our values. But of course, if they can join now, yeah, on the agriculture side, I don't know what our farmers would say about that. So is there also a possibility to take out some policies before you take the next step? And then the last question, because I think minutes have gone. Our colleague Sophie Wilmès proposed in the Commission Libe a semester on rule of law. Because I think we ask a lot of rule of law before they enter the European Union, but once they entered, we should also reflect on that semester of rule of law. So how do you support that and how do you look towards that? Thank you very much. Full support, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thomas Weitz.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleague Hilde Woutmans, for your comments on our Commissioner, which I fully share. A few questions. I mean, it's a bit difficult, 10 plus countries in 2 minutes. So let me focus on a few. Where are we standing with the preparation of the accession treaties to Montenegro? Can you maybe update us whether work is being done and things are moving forward? Second question, a bit related to Albania also. We see quite some progress when it comes to legislation, which is, quite amazing progress. How do you see the progress when it comes to implementation of the legislation that has been decided upon? Another country I would like to touch upon, this is Bosnia. At which point are we brave enough to say Dayton Peace Agreement brought an end of physical violence, but is not a fundament for a modern civic European state, so this will not serve as a constitution that leads the country into the European Union? Are we able to say that, and are we intending to? And then one very concrete question on integration. There was this proposal of reversed integration. Can you say a word whether this is still debated or whether this was just, let's say, a one-day fly discussion? And on gradual integration, I support the concept, and I think with SEPA and with roaming, we've already brought quite some goodies also to the region where people, citizens, ordinary citizens feel the progress and feel that it helps them in their daily life. What additional proposals for gradual integrations beyond the one we have already granted would you see for the next steps? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Normally I would now give the floor to the left. Mr. Bodenga is not here. Is there anybody else from the left? That is also. No. Yeah. So that's another debate now. Then I come to ESN and it's Kollege Sell.
Vielen Dank, Herr Vorsitzender, und vielen Dank, Frau Kos, für Ihren Bericht.